Hi, everybody. Welcome. Welcome to our 10th annual home ownership conference. My name is Vicky Cummings. I'm really excited to be here with you today. I'm a realtor with eXp Realty here in Oxnard out of wonderful Ventura County. Thanks again for being here. Okay, so what we're going to cover today, the objectives today is when you're selling your home. Okay, that's what we're going to be covering. And what is it when you're selling your home? There's different ways to go about it. What are the important objectives? So have you thought about it? I mean, doing a for sale by owner or the do's and don'ts of when you want to be a for sale by owner or do a for sale by owner? The required forms for the state of California. So there are lots. California has several pages of contracts to help with the buyers and sellers, and they update them yearly. They're actually coming out with some more in the next month or so. Who is involved when you're selling or buying a home? The common seller mistakes. Okay, we're going to go over that, like some of the mistakes that sellers can make and how to avoid those. And then also how to get the most amount of money for your home, which I think is what most people want, right? Overall home seller's process. Okay, we're going to go ahead and look. Your home is the center. Okay, so you decide to sell your home. And now what? Now what are you going to do? You've made the decision. You're going to go ahead and sell. And it's now time to meet with a real estate agent. When you're meeting with a real estate agent, I definitely recommend that you interview at least a few. Why? The average realtor sells about 3 to 4 homes a year. Okay, so do you want someone that's average, or do you want someone that is a professional, does this day in and day out? Find out, first of all, are they a full-time agent or a part-time agent? Your home is one of your biggest financial investments. So please make sure that when you're looking to sell, you interview a couple agents. You're going to want to make sure that these agents provide for you the market analysis of your property. It's also known as the acronym CMA, Comparative Market Analysis. This is going to let you know what your home value is. And preparing your home for sale. So once these realtors come over to your property, they're going to let you know what preparations you should make on your home, what you should spend money on versus not, where you're going to get your highest return on investment, and the marketing and showings of your home. So once your home is ready to show, then it's time to start marketing it. Something that started happening, they started doing this about, I want to say it's been the past year, where we have what's called the coming soon status. So say that your home isn't quite ready to hit the market yet, but you want to start prepping it for the market, kind of like teasing and letting people know it's coming on the market. You can do what's called coming soon status up to 21 days ahead of time before it hits to become active status in the MLS, which is the multiple listing service that realtors go to find out what's available for sale. In this, you need to have a photo of the front of the home. And if you wanted to have an exterior shot, you could do so as well. So if your client needs a little bit more time, or you, the seller, need a little bit more time to get the home in order, then you have up to 3 weeks to do that. But it needs to be 3 weeks or less. Okay, so that's something to share. So it's like a pre-marketing and really important to do so that when you get your showings, you're ready to go. If you show your property during the coming soon, it needs to go active. You can't show it to one realtor, or the listing agent can't just show it because it's their listing. You need to open it up to all the buyers out there to really be sure to make sure to do what's best for the seller. Okay. Then when you receive an offer, the realtor is going to help you with the receiving the offer and negotiating on your behalf and the contract to closing. Pros and cons of being a for sale by owner. Being a for sale by owner sounds exciting and wonderful, right? You're going to save all that commission and not pay thousands of dollars. It sounds great, but in truth and reality, it's really not. For sale by owners open themselves up to lawsuits and have a huge liability and they do actually, it's been proven that they have the most lawsuits versus someone that uses a real estate agent. When you are a professional realtor, your broker and you have what's called E&O insurance, errors and omissions insurance. In case if there's any legality issues, you're covered and your client is covered. So it sounds like a great thing, but in the truth, you really don't want to open yourself up to any kind of any legality issues. And that's something that you really need to think about. And also security wise, people don't think about that. When you're a licensed realtor, you have a lockbox, and that lockbox, whenever a realtor comes to show the property, it keeps track of who came to show your property, the timeline that they were there, and you can follow up with them. We as realtors, we have a certain code of ethics to abide to. We cannot have any legal issues in our past. We have to make sure that we're in good standing. So you have security when you have a realtor versus allowing anybody to come into your home not knowing their background. Plus the fact of realtors are showing property to qualified buyers. A lot of times for sale by owners, the buyer's thinking, oh, they're doing it for sale by owner. They want to get a discount. They want to get some creative financing. These are factors that people don't really think about. And it's been proven that realtors net more for their client in their pocket than a for sale by owner. So even though it sounds exciting, those are the pros and cons. Required forms for the state of California. In the state of California, we have lots of paperwork, especially when we're selling a property. So it's really important that you know what you're signing, and your realtor will take the time to go over that with you. So you have the purchase agreement, which is the RPA, the residential purchase agreement. Then you have your transfer disclosure paperwork, and that is paperwork that you as the seller need to disclose to the buyer. So any kind of changes, upgrades, if there's a leak, anything that you want to make sure to disclose it. Also, the natural hazard zone disclosure. Being in California, and we need to disclose if you're located in an earthquake zone, a flood zone, a fire zone. There's lots of stuff that shows up on the natural hazard disclosure that you want to make sure that the client is aware of. And then also we have what's called the statewide buyer and seller advisory. On there, it basically, what it does, it's a definition of terms, real estate terms, with the buyer and the seller. And it tells you page by page, it's about 14 pages long. And it really reiterates in there. And that's the great thing about our contract, even though it's many, many pages, they go over and over again about what certain terms mean. When your contingency timelines are up, the obligation that the realtor has, the listing agent versus the selling agent, the seller, the buyer, it has all the real estate timelines and all the terms in there. Also, what's going to be in here is the water heater. So there's a disclosure for making sure the water heater, there's certain state mandated things that need to be done. You want to make sure, and that is the water heater and also the smoke detector and carbon monoxide detectors. There's also paperwork for that. The lead-based paint, if the home was made in 1978 or prior, you want to have that disclosure in there as well. The seller property questionnaire, SPQ. This is a 4 pages long. And in here, you specifically write out anything about the property. If there's been any kind of insurance claims, any modifications, you are going to list it and put everything in here because you want to tell more about the property versus less and having to worry about the buyer coming back later because of not disclosing something. So you want to make sure all of this is done. Also, the fire hardening disclosure, there's paperwork on that. Certain cities have a city report, not all cities. So Ventura County, there's a city report in Ventura. There's one in Port Hueneme. There's one in Oxnard. There's also one in Thousand Oaks. The cities that I did not mention don't have a city report. So certain cities have city reports. And then you also have the residential earthquake hazard report. And obviously, because we're in California, we need to disclose everything about the property. So those are some of the property, the paperwork, the forms, the required forms for the state of California. Parties involved in selling a home. So there's different parties. Obviously, you have the real estate agent. With the real estate agent, you have the listing agent who's representing the seller. And then you also have the buyer's agent, and which is referred to as the selling agent. And then you could also have what's called a dual agent. A dual agent is disclosed. And what that means is that you are representing both buyer and seller. And this is another disclosure item that needs to happen. You have a fiduciary obligation to your client if you're representing the seller or if you're representing the buyer and as a dual agent. You cannot disclose. So say if you're representing the seller and you know their bottom line, you know what you cannot tell the other side if you're representing the buyer. That's fiduciary obligation you have to your seller. And material facts need to be disclosed on both sides. And that's very important as well. The seller also has a duty to share all their information about the home. And that's why we have all those disclosures. You want to make sure everything is disclosed. And then the buyer, what they do, they want to make sure that they have their investigation period to find out material facts, to find out about the home. They do this with having their inspection period, having the home inspection, reviewing the disclosures, and making sure that it's something that they want to move forward with and the home is ready to go. You also have escrow and title officers. They are the neutral party. The escrow officer is in the middle. They're making sure that the seller and the buyer have all the paperwork is in there, that you get your escrow instructions, that basically the escrow instructions are going to explain the whole contract in place. And then the title, you want to make sure when the property closes title that it's transferred clear title to the buyer. And also the lender. If most properties are financed, and so you're going to have the lender involved. And so that's why VCCDC is here to help you with that. Common seller mistakes. So here are some common seller mistakes. You get more money if you pad the price and your bargaining room. Not really so. A lot of times, if you are especially right now that the market has shifted, I'm not sure if you're aware of that, but the rates have gone up. They went up again today. So now that they've gone up a bit, you really want to make sure you have your price, look at the comparables and make sure, because a lot of times, especially right now, pricing is key. Since April is the first month in a while that the home prices, that the sales actually declined. It's the first time since the pandemic started. So pricing is important because a lot of times, I'm sure you've heard, it's called pandemic purchases that happened the past 2.5 years where people were overbidding for the property. So right now, what we're starting to see is longer days on market. You're seeing the price decreases. So say something sold for $650,000 because the buyer paid $50,000 over asking price. Right now, we're starting to see the shift. So it could, even though you're thinking at $650, it could actually be $625 now. You've got to look and see what's active and competing for sale and what's pending right now. It's really important, especially with this market that's started to shift or shifting. And also for improvements and all that, you're not going to want to add this onto your property. Some people think like, oh, I'm going to look and see what the last home sold for. But you know what? I put a new roof on and I put my kitchen, I just spent all these thousands of dollars upgrading the kitchen. So I'm going to add that on to the sales price. That's not how it works. You've got to look at your comparables, because some of those comparables, everybody needs a new roof. Everybody needs a kitchen, and they might have done those improvements as well. So you can't be adding that on to your price. You've got to look at what is the competition, what's closed and sold, what's pending and under contract. Swimming pool and hot tubs, those you can look at those. They do help and increase the value. Also, if you're looking at the floor plan and say that you're comparing the 3 bedrooms to the 4 bedrooms, you're going to want to look at the square footage. You're going to really want to look at apples to apples. So if you're competing with, yes, the swimming pool is going to be an added feature and upgrade, and receiving an offer close to list price and really close when at the beginning of the contract that you receive a listing, if you have your listing and you get an offer, a lot of times that offer is the strongest. I'm going to give you an example. With the market, since it's shifted, I had an offer, cash offer, about a month ago on this one listing, and it was not full price, but it was pretty close. And my client was like, oh, we've got plenty of time. We just started. Well, the market's shifted, and that was the best offer. So sometimes that first offer, it's the best offer. Other times, if it's one of those listings that's getting a lot of activity and a lot of interest, and you do have multiple offers, then that, of course, that's a different story. Waiting for more offers, you don't want to lose that offer that does come in. So with the market shifting, with the rates adjusting, you want to make sure that you speak to the other realtor, find out, and speak to the lender of the other realtor to find out, have they done a new updated lender letter? Can they still qualify for the property since the payment's adjusted? So here is some really important information for you to do right now with this market. The net sheet, the good old net sheet. Okay, this is really, really important too. So when you're interviewing agents, I always make sure to take a net sheet with me. Sometimes people get so focused on what they're paying in commission that what they really need to focus on is what they're netting in their pocket. Because if you're worried about the commission, which obviously it's a lot of money, but if your realtor is going to get you full price or more, and they're negotiating on your behalf and they're netting you. So if the average for sale by owner is netting 8% less than a realtor, right there, you see how you're actually making more money paying the 5% commission or 6%, whatever you're paying. You're netting more in your pocket by hiring a realtor. So what this net sheet has on here, it has everything. So say we're bringing up a $380,000, we'll say condo. Okay, so the net sheet, they're selling a $380,000 condo. The closing costs are going to come out to. So if you look at the column to the right here where it says closing costs, what are closing costs? They include all of the following: the title policy, the escrow fee. And mind you, the escrow fee, the buyer and seller are each going to pay their own escrow fee. Title, the seller pays for the title. The transfer tax, the city record search, the home warranty. Home warranty can be negotiated. Sometimes the buyer pays, sometimes the seller pays. The drawing up of the deeds, the notary, and also termite. Termite is also one of those that can go either way, buyer or seller. And then NHD. And what you're paying to the listing agent, what you're paying to the selling agent. That's how we came up with the $22,331. Okay, so then if you look to your left, the sales price is $380,000. You're paying $22,381 in closing costs. So you subtract the difference with what the loan balance is. So say that you owe $180,000 on the loan, on the property, on the condo that you're selling. Okay, so if you look at that, then it's going to let you know before taxes, it's showing you the breakdown. So at the close, this is what you want to look at. What is your net to close? After paying everything off, your net is $178,451.55. So this is important to know because you want to know, obviously, when you're selling your property, how much are you going to walk away with? Are you planning to buy another property? What are you using those funds? So say you are using those funds to purchase another property, because most of the time people, when they sell, they're going to go buy something else. They're either going to downsize or move out of state or get something bigger, or sometimes maybe they're cashing out. But look at the net to close and see if that is enough for you. It's really important to do this. This sheet is very important because your net bottom line is what counts. Also, I do like the way this is set up. Because of a couple of the items on the closing costs, they can be negotiated, but it's helpful to have these numbers because a little bit of a padding, and would you rather get more money than a little bit less? So this is a really important form here, and make sure that your realtor has this. You can request it as well, and they'll bring it to you on the listing appointment. In conclusion, the goal is obviously to maximize your net, to get the most you can, to have an experienced professional provide the information to you on the market stats and trends. Make sure that they're a full-time agent, that they actually sell a decent amount of homes. It's so important in this market because a lot of times, even in the previous market, what we've been through the past 2.5 years, having people that are experienced on your behalf that also know other realtors, have good relationships, and that are well respected and that are working on your behalf, what's best for you, and letting you know the truth, not just telling you what you want to hear to get your listing, but to work with you and let you know weekly updates and the feedback that you're getting. And then they also want to take care of any liability. So that's, I mean, having the errors and omissions insurance is very helpful. Having the professional explaining the contracts to you so you know what you're signing. And also the more due diligence for you. I mean, that's definitely going to help you in the end. And yes, don't over improve your home. Everything is negotiable. There's certain things that your agent's going to go over with you. Like I had mentioned at the beginning, when you're getting ready to prep your home, certain things, yes, take the time and money to do those. Other things, I mean, your realtor professional will let you know. If the house needs everything brand new, I mean, you really got to look at and see, like, especially with the market being the way it is and the rates going up. And usually what happens when rates go up, prices start to level off and come down. So have your professional go over with you the truth, what's happening in the market, what are they going to do to help you get your property sold and net you the most, which is what you want. Thank you, everybody. It was a pleasure to be here today. I am so thankful to have VCCDC as my preferred lender that I love to refer clients to. They have, as you know, lots of great education. They've got the counseling. Their lenders are on top of it. You are in wonderful hands. If you have any questions, anything I can do to assist, my name is Vicky Cummings. My direct number is 805-750-8900. Once again, 805-750-8900. Vicky, your realtor. Thank you. Oh, one last thing we can't forget. Any questions that you have, please, please, please make sure to put them in the chat. Put those questions into the chat. And thank you for attending our 10th annual home ownership conference.